Hi, this is BB. The aim of this tutorial and the other ones in the series is to go through the steps I found I needed to get started with Blender to the point where I could actually upload a simple model to Second Life. I'm not a Blender expert. If you're an expert, you won't want to know this, so please go away. I don't really want you looking over my shoulder and telling me I'm doing everything wrong. And this is really intended for people who haven't used Blender before and who, like me, have found that it's really difficult to get started with that grey, non-intuitive interface with panels and controls all over the place. My problem when I started was you can find all the information you need on forums and blogs and the Blender help areas, but none of them really take you through all the steps you need, and it can be really difficult tracking down things that you've missed, which mean that when you finally do get something done, it doesn't upload right, or looks like it's inside out, that kind of thing. So having got something that works for me, I thought it might be useful if I recorded it to help other people get through these initial stages a bit faster. So in this tutorial, I'm going to look at the scene when you open up Blender, as you can see in the window here, and what's in it, and look at the different mouse clicks that you use in Blender, which are really important, and some of the initial key presses. The keyboard and keyboard shortcuts are very important in Blender. It's very difficult to do things unless you know them and can remember them and carry them out repeatedly without having to think about them too much. So we'll start with those, and in the later tutorials we'll move on to look at editing and making the mesh look like what you want it to, and getting the model ready with a UV map and material set so you can upload it to Second Life. So first of all, in the scene, as you can see it now, there's the default cube which appears when you start Blender, and to select things in the scene we use right click. Unlike most programs, selecting is done with right click, so you have to get used to that. So the moment the cube is selected, if I right click on the camera here over to the left, that gets selected, and the other object over on the right is the default lamp which lights up the scene. If I click back on the cube, it's now reselected, and the left mouse button does do useful things. For instance, you can click on the arrows and move the cube around on its axes like that. You see how it's white highlighted when it's active and moving. And you also might have noticed that the little crosshair thing here, I'll click somewhere else with the left mouse button and you'll see that it moves around. And that will be useful too. Positioning of that crosshair can also do things. Let's look now at a couple of the keyboard shortcuts you'll need. A is one of the basic ones. If you press it once and it deselects everything, and you press it again and it selects everything. And you notice that the lamp and the camera and the cube are all selected. If I press it again, they're all deselected, and then I can click on the right mouse button to reselect things. Deleting is done with X. If I press X, you'll see that I get the delete dialog, and you confirm these dialogues by pressing with the left mouse button, or you can hit enter. If I move the mouse away from it, it goes away. That's the easiest way of cancelling it. I'll do it again, and this time I'll complete it, so I go X and delete, and it's gone. If I want to add my mesh back again, I want to know where I'm going to add it, so that's where the crosshair comes in at this stage. I'll click back in the center of the mesh, then I'll go up to the Add menu, up at the top, Mesh and Cube. Click, and it appears where the crosshair was. There are different modes in Blender. The object mode is what we're in at the moment, which is where you start off. You can change to Edit and various others. I'm not going to change at the moment. If you want to delete entire objects like this, do it in object mode rather than edit mode. You can delete all the faces and vertices and edges of a mesh and still be left with the yellow thing in the middle, which is like its point of origin. If you want to get rid of the whole thing, you need to do it in object mode, and that eliminates the lot. Another useful keyboard shortcut is to duplicate objects. To do that, you press Shift and D, and you'll see that the cube is now outlined in white. If I just move the mouse around, don't click anything, you'll see that it shifts as the second object. If I press Control at the same time, it snaps to the grid, which is useful for lining it up. And when I've finished and it's where I want it to be, I press the left mouse button or hit Enter, and that fixes it in position. I can then move it around with the left mouse on the pointers. Undoing is the usual Control Z, so Control Z, Control Z, and we're back to where we started, where I deleted the cube. To get it back again, Control Shift Z takes you back, so undo, Control Z, redo, Control Shift Z. In the next tutorial, I'll look at the camera controls, which use the middle mouse button, or scroll wheel, and the number pad.